Let's talk about the different types of conflict and obstacles. Conflict can be defined in several ways: opposition, a clash, a sharp disagreement, a hostile encounter, a struggle between two people. It could also be a mental struggle. The conflict could be a clash of people, a clash of ideas, or a clash of interests. Conflict is important because it keeps the story going and sustains the interest of the reader or viewer as they see the characters struggling to overcome obstacles. It also adds uncertainty and creates tension as the character experiences setbacks and possible dire consequences. Conflict also prepares the character for the future, and as the character makes hard choices and sacrifices along the way, his or her character is revealed. As you write a screenplay, you should think of a character and what his or her motivation is. A character must have a reason for doing something. That is his motivation. He or she must have a reason for confronting a particular obstacle. The confrontation is the conflict. Conflict is created when something gets in the way of the character to prevent him or her from achieving their goal. This thing that gets in the way is called the obstacle. The decision to overcome or to avoid these obstacles brings about conflict. Whilst you try to avoid conflict in real life, you cannot overlook it when you are writing your screenplays. Some say without conflict there is no drama. A screenplay without conflict would have to be very special to be enjoyed. Your character might have a goal or purpose in the story, but if there is no opposition or disagreement, there is no drama. Conflict arises when a need, intention, goal meets an obstacle. Now let's talk about the types of conflict. All conflicts fall under two categories: inner and outer conflicts. Now let's begin with the inner conflicts. It has several names: inner conflict, internal conflict, or psychological conflict. Some call it man against himself or character against self. This is normally conflict within the character from something they have not accepted, tackled, or overcome. Perhaps they are unsure of themselves, their actions, or goals. A character struggles with their own beliefs and desires, and this affects their development as a character. For example, you are a chain smoker of cigarettes. The doctor told you this morning that your next stick will send you to your grave. You must get rid of the whole that you bought yesterday. As you do so, you debate with yourself whether to smoke a last stick or not. Now, the two people you love most in the world are drowning. You can only save one. The debate that goes on in your mind before you take action is the internal conflict. Now let us look at the outer conflict or external conflict. This conflict, which sets the character against something or someone, normally a very strong force to reckon with. This force or forces stand in the way of a character's motivation and creates tension as the character tries to reach their goals. Whilst inner conflict stands on its own, there is no agreement on how many outer conflicts there are. So here are a number of them that might be useful to you. Man against man. Man in this sense means a human being. It is also called relational conflict or a protagonist against antagonist. This is the most used conflict. It happens between one character and another character or other characters who have opposing intentions or goals. For example, Ama has been gaining promotion since she joined the company 3 years ago. Kumi is still where he has been for 8 years. Out of envy, he must do everything to bring Ama down. Ama is smart. She knows what she is up against. Man against man. Then there's another type of conflict called man against society. Here, a character stands against a tradition, like the chiefs, or an institution like the electricity company, or even the judiciary of a country. Normally, these institutions are so rich and powerful, the character does not seem to have a chance. Imagine AC, after only one semester in a prestigious school in the city, coming back to the village and suggesting to the chiefs and people that their way of life has been wrong all these years. You can imagine the confrontation she will be putting herself through. There is also man against a situation. In this instance, the conflict comes out of the blue. Suddenly, a bus load of local tourists gets cut off from the mainland. 4 gun-toting men come on board and there is a hijack. Someone will have to confront the situation and lead the tourists to safety. Then there is also man against technology. This type of conflict is when science cannot be controlled by man anymore. Imagine humanoids walking about town and insisting on the same human rights as you. Then there is also man against nature. Here the character fights a force of nature, such as an earthquake or a flood or a lion or the weather. Normally, characters are helpless against nature, but they are forced to fight for their survival and the survival of others. In the end, an important lesson is learned. Then there's also man against the supernatural and fate. When a character confronts ghosts, witches, and wizards, even the gods, then he is in conflict with the supernatural. Now, including both inner and outer obstacles is useful for a very good story. Now, let's talk about obstacles. An obstacle is anything that keeps a character from achieving his or her goal or goals. This creates conflict. The obstacle is the source of all drama. To explain the various obstacles, let us look at this simple scenario. You are asking for the hand of the king's daughter in marriage. The king will accept only if you are able to penetrate the forest of no return, to snatch his daughter's necklace from the hyper-headed cobra's nest at the top of the dark mountain. You have 3 days to achieve this. Because of your love for the king's daughter, you set off on this quest. Just like conflicts, obstacles which your protagonist must overcome can take a number of forms. Here are some of them. We have the physical obstacles. Now, this guy is going into the forest, and the forest is a physical obstacle, all right. And so is the mountain that he's going to climb. And the distance, the forest is far from the village, and that makes it also a physical obstacle. Then there is a possibility of other characters being obstacles as well. For example, if such a forbidden village will have a forbidden forest, will have armed robbers there. That there it could be the armed robbers' hideout. So you might meet these armed robbers and you would have to outwit them or confront them. Then you might have mental and emotional obstacles as well. For example, the fear of the forest or the fear that you might not return. And then the fear of heights. You're going to climb a mountain and you have this fear of heights. These are mental and emotional obstacles. Then there is the cultural or societal obstacles. You know that in this village, it is forbidden to enter the forbidden forest on Tuesdays. Today is Tuesday, and it is a taboo to go through that forest. So once you enter that forest, it's going to bring you problems. That's a cultural obstacle. Then there is a supernatural obstacle. And because it is a forbidden forest, there's a possibility of encountering voodoo shrines and evil spirits, which you might need to overcome. Then there's also the possibility of the antagonist as an obstacle. In this case, it's possible that you are not the only one who wants the hand of the princess in marriage, that there's another guy. And so if permission has been given for the other guy to also go for the necklace, then the competition will be between you two. And you would be the protagonist and probably the other guy will be the antagonist. And of course, there is also the obstacle of time, that you've been given 3 days. So this generally sums up what obstacles are. Each obstacle should be different from the previous obstacle. For example, after a physical obstacle, the next obstacle could be a cultural obstacle or a mental obstacle. Also, each obstacle must be tougher or more difficult than the previous one to make the story more exciting. I hope you have an idea of what conflicts and obstacles are. Thank you.